Welcome to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25 Media. We feature top founders, executives, and business leaders from all over the world.
Hi, Chad Franson here, co-host for this show where we feature top restaurateurs, investors, and business leaders. This episode is brought to you by SpotOn. SpotOn has the best-in-class payment platform for retail, and they have a flagship solution called SpotOn Restaurant, where they combine marketing, software, and payments all in one. They've served everyone from larger chains like Dairy Queen and Subway to small mom and pop restaurants. To learn more, go to spoton.com. It's also brought to you by Rise 25. We help B2B businesses to get ROI, clients, referrals, and strategic partnerships through Done For You podcasts. If you have a B2B business and want to build great relationships with clients, referral partners, and thought leaders in your space, there's no better way to do it than through podcasts and content marketing. To learn more, go to rise25.com and email us at support@rise25.com. My guest today is Florian Pfahler, the founder of Hannah's Pretzels, and I'm really looking forward to talking to him today. Florian, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you? Thanks for having me here.
Good, thanks. Hey, tell me, how did you kind of get started in the restaurant industry?
It was a little bit by accident. I moved to the United States in 1992, to New York, actually. And by 2000, my background is marketing and advertising. By 2000, I moved to Chicago for Leo Burnett, the advertising agency. And I grew up in Stuttgart, Germany, and I missed the Bretzel bread. And it was on my mind to do something with Bretzel bread on the side. And as I started to get knowledgeable about the environment that I lived in Chicago, I moved into the West Loop at the time. And that was, I don't know if you're familiar what's going on in Chicago, but the West Loop is a very dynamic neighborhood by now. It was a very empty neighborhood, basically like the meat market in Chelsea. It reminded me a lot of that. And as I was growing accustomed to my life in Chicago, I got also introduced to Whole Foods. And so when I was looking at the Bretzel bread, and then I looked at Whole Foods and how Whole Foods was growing, and there was no Whole Foods in New York when I lived in New York. This was the first time I was introduced to Whole Foods. And I looked at what's happening in Whole Foods, and I looked at what's happening with the internet, which sounds kind of funny, but at the time the internet was just on its rise, and it became obvious that the whole dynamic of how people experience healthy and eating and foods on the go is going to change. I talked to a lot of customers at Whole Foods. I'm a marketer at heart. I feel like one of the best things to do is chat people up in the environment that you want to do research in, where they are the most natural. And I learned very quickly that a lot of customers were looking at living healthier and eating healthier. And Whole Foods provided them a platform for that. But also, I learned through talking to them that their whole medical side and the way they structure their lifestyle around eating healthier has been opened up by the internet. They were talking about what they were reading here and what they were reading there. So that one-on-one relationship of the past between your doctor and you, or your nutritionist and you, has opened up to a whole source of a whole wide range of resources. And it became pretty quickly very clear that there's a huge opportunity to provide foods on the go that reflect that lifestyle, which is the lifestyle that I lived anyway. My roots are, I'm from a Waldorf school environment. I grew up in a household that, like many European households, where food was very, very important. Nutrition was very important. Fast food was not really a thing as I grew up. And so when I learned that, I looked at the Bretzel bread, and I looked at Whole Foods, and I looked at the consumer and the dynamics that were provided by the internet and the growth of knowledge. And I felt that there is an opportunity. And so I opened up the first Hannah's in 2005 on Washington and Wells, right next to a corner bakery. Pretty bold. I was like thinking that if I don't make a dent, if I can't bring over the customers that walk into Corner Bakery, come to me and eating a much better and healthier and tastier sandwich product, then I rather want to fail quickly and move on. And 20 years later, here we are.
Yeah, it sounds like that didn't happen. So
Yeah.
when you say food on the go, is that really what it is? Like people go in there, get the food, and then they take it?
Not initially. Initially, in 2005, 90% of what we sold was sold by walk-in traffic in the stores. That all changed in 2016 with the rise of technology in the online ordering platforms. By now, 70% is ordered online, about 65% is delivered or picked up. And so that dynamic is rather going to grow. So we were initially successful back in 2005 through the financial crisis into 2012, 13, before the gluten-free trend started. That hit us hard, but we got through that. It was really about having large locations, because the only way you could eat was by going downstairs and walk into a store. That has been turned on its head. So now we shed all the large locations. We're going back really small because it's easier to operate, but also we don't see the lunch sit-down customer anymore. It's just not happening right now. Might be something of the future, but it definitely doesn't warrant anymore to have 3,500 square feet of prime retail space in the downtown environment at very high rent. And so right now, small is beautiful again. Yeah.
Where did the idea for this specific kind of restaurant come from? I know you talked about your background with food and things like that, but for Hannah's Bretzel itself, how did that kind of come about?
Yeah, so the Bretzel bread was really a driver, and in Stuttgart, when you walk through the city, there's a lot of little kiosks that sell you a pretzel on the go. You grab it for €1 or €2 or something like this. I don't know how much it is now. When I was a kid, it was much less. But that's what a lot of people do. They, in the afternoon or in the morning at 10 o'clock, they pass by, and some have a little butter on it, and the other ones are just plain, and that's about it. And you just grab one and go, and you eat it, and that's it. And initially, I thought about doing something like that. But the city of Chicago pretty quickly shut that down and said, you want to do food, you need to do a health inspection, you need to have a retail space. So now, when it came about to have a retail space, I was like, well, to have a retail space that just sells pretzel on the go is not going to work. So in the meantime, when I had lunch every day with Leo Burnett, and I went to these places that my coworkers felt are worth going to, I felt that there was a lack of creativity when it came to making sandwiches, ingredients, but also it was the ingredient, like the meats used or the cheeses used were just not that interesting. And I thought that there's so much more to it. Nobody did anything with Parma ham. Nobody did anything with wild-caught salmon. Nobody did anything with bresaola. Nobody did anything with serrano ham. It was just all the same, another turkey sandwich, And so I went out and I bought a lot of baguette and a lot of ingredients, and I invited friends to my house in the West Loop, and we started making sandwiches. I thought I need 1 weekend to figure it out. What I underestimated is we should have done this like when you have a red wine tester, like they swirl it and then they spit it out, right? So what we did is we ate the sandwiches, and within half an hour we were so full we couldn't continue. So I realized I needed to space it out a little bit. But we tested the menu quite deeply. We had a lot of inspiration from chefs and from books and our own creative ideas. We made some that were absolutely uneatable, but that was the foundation. And then I was just taking the risk, and I was like, okay, fine, here we are. It's not about piling high. It's not about eating a ton of meat. It's more about the pureness of the ingredient. We make our bread ourselves from day one. It's organic, has always been organic, will only be organic, our bread. We make our own sauces and chutneys. We decided that too, so there's no preservatives in there. We know the ingredients. And then when it comes to the other ingredients, that is easy to source, relatively speaking. Bresaola is bresaola, serrano ham, Parma ham, these wonderful hams, French jambon de Paris. Beautiful ingredients that tend to be rather clean. I will look out for the antibiotics and the growth hormones. Now, according to law, in the US, animals are not supposed to have antibiotics and growth hormones. However, if the livestock is not healthy, they're allowed to give them. And so there's always like a little loophole so we try to work with purveyors that are strictly living up to the no antibiotics and growth hormone thing. And so the product is really lovely and it tastes good, but it is not for the person that is looking for the meat piled high. And, and we also size is not like, we go for ingredients and flavor.
Mm. So I know sustainability is also important to you. Can you kind of tell me maybe extra steps that you take in that regard, maybe that other restaurants don't take?
Yeah, so over the years, of course, climate change has become a big word. The focus of business to operate environmentally more friendly has been a growing segment of our society and gotten a lot of attention. We don't do that to save the planet. And I say this deliberately every time because I think that is one of the most arrogant statements that humans can do. The planet will have no problem. It will be here billions from years from now. We probably won't. And so we're saving ourselves, if anything. And we're saving our habitat, but we're not saving the planet. The planet will just do fine probably better without us on it, quite frankly. And so I also think that we're a small business, so it's more like operating within the community without unnecessary burden on landfill and just doing things a little bit different and what I would call smarter, not necessarily more expensive. As a matter of fact, like we just 2 years ago, we switched to electric Mini Cooper. We had gas-powered Mini Coopers for delivery and running errands. The electric Mini Cooper is fantastic, not expensive, and saves us 10 grand in gas money a year, if not 12, right to the bottom line. We have a parking space in a garage that we would pay for gas powered as well. And we can charge the car up there for free. So now, zero cost to drive the car. Well, the tires need more attention than a normal car because it accelerates like hell. And my team loves that. And I need to always calm them down and tell them like not to do that. But the tires have a little bit more wear. But otherwise, it's a very smart investment. We've been biodegradable in our packaging thing since about 2009. 2008. The minute it came up, we were like, okay, plastic, bye-bye. Now you can argue about biodegradable and is it better and is it not? For me, anything that is not plastic is better. And if the material is bamboo, I'm particularly excited because it's such a renewable resource. And plastic, as we know, is a real problem. And everybody talks about the microplastics right now. Well, the microplastics are created by all the things we throw away that find surprisingly their way back into nature and with that into our bellies and into our bodies. And it's not a good thing. We power wind and solar, 100% wind and solar since, I don't even know when we started, 2010, maybe 2011. Now everybody's like, oh, come on, how do you know it's wind and solar? Well, it's not about that. It's like the Lake Michigan. You can pour a bottle of mineral water into Lake Michigan and it still will be water from rain and water from other sources and your bottle of mineral water. And so the mineral water is the wind and solar. Obviously, when we get the water from Lake Michigan, it's not 100% wind and solar, but our money goes to the company that produces 100% wind and solar. And with that, we support them in their endeavor to grow their share of market in energy supply. We compost in the back of house. That was only started about, I would say, just pre-COVID, 2019. It became viable. Until then, there was nobody really doing that. Now we work with a company called Waste Not in Chicago, and they're fantastic, and they do residential too. And if anybody listens to this podcast who wants to do compost at home, Waste Not is your source. Fantastic people, not expensive, smart thing to do. It is a shame if food waste gets thrown away. We have a farmhouse. My family, we have a farmhouse outside of Munich in Bavaria, and we've been composting there since I've been a child. And it's in the corner it's a large garden, so in the corner there's a composting area, and we throw the things on there that are good for composting, and then it turns into earth, and we use that in the garden for herbs and for planting vegetables and for whatever we use, flower beds. And it's just amazing how well these things grow. But it's also incredibly nutrient-rich earth. And I think what a lot of consumers, because we've been so removed from the food supply side, what consumers need to understand, and I don't want to be lecturing people who already know, but for them, for the ones maybe that listen to this that haven't thought about it, that the nutrients in the earth give the fruit and the vegetable the ingredients to make it a healthy thing to eat. That's where the body gets very important supplies for micronutrients. And if the earth is not healthy, then yes, you can eat that fruit and that vegetable, but it won't have the nutrients that the body needs. And in that essence, it becomes empty food. And by composting is probably the nutrient densest kind of dirt you can have. And so composting is really, really important. It is the beauty is in Germany now. The state collects the food garbage of households, every household, and composts everything. And it's really fascinating. When I go home, there's 4 different trash bins that are put out in the street and being picked up. Plastic and bottles is one, not glass, plastic. And anything plastic is one bag. And then there's paper and carton. And then there is household waste, which is food, basically for composting. And then the 4th one is your regular trash. And the regular landfill trash is the smallest bin. And it's also the emptiest, because once you get rid of all these other items, there's not a whole lot left. There's not a whole lot left to throw away. So basically your landfill issues are a thing of yesterday. And you recycle what you can recycle. And the food waste becomes incredibly important and nutritious earth to plant fruits and vegetables in the future. And I think the whole cycle is really, really smart. So that's what we do at Hanna's. It's our small contribution to our community. And we don't, I think this is the way to operate a business, whether that is a coffee shop or whether it is an office or whether it is a restaurant. I think that everybody should adopt that and look out for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, that is awesome. How did the name Hannah's come about?
It's my daughter, Hannah. So Hannah was born in 2002. And when I wrote the business plan in 2003 into 2004, I decided that Hannah is a beautiful name. Front, back, the same thing, 3 letters in the middle, 2 ends. Can't get better than that. Very memorable. And then my daughter Ella was born in 2004. And she doesn't think this is funny. So I have a concept for Ella that I wanted to do in 2020, but then COVID hit, and so we shelved it. But I still want to do it, and I hope it's ready to go. Things are looking pretty good again now. Business since COVID ended the last 2 years, this year and 23. End of 22 into 23, 24 were pretty solid. And I think that if 25 holds and things don't go crazy on the macroeconomic side, I most probably will do the Ella's concept.
Is there speaking of COVID, is there any part of your operation that changed and now is kind of still permanently changed as a result of COVID?
Yeah, I mean, COVID had a huge impact on everything.
Yeah.
And I mentioned the first one, which was locations don't need to be big anymore.
Yeah.
The second thing is obviously the big news of this week was that Amazon said 5 days a week, starting 25, everybody back in the office. We'll see if they succeed, right? In the past, companies tried and employees were like, yeah, we don't think so. So now I think, though, considering the labor picture and considering the macroeconomic environment that we're looking at, where people are discussing hard landing, soft landing, recession, no recession, blah, 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 blah. I think that team members are a little bit more concerned about their future and about their position. And I think the leverage is ever so slightly turning over into companies And I would not be surprised to see more of an effort for companies to say, you need to come back 5 days a week. We'll see about that. I think there's industries where that is more necessary, and there's industries where it's less necessary. I think that Fridays will for sure stay weaker days in the week, much weaker than they used to be. And right now for us, the Friday is a permanent weekend. Like our weekend starts Thursday afternoon in the sense of revenue. But our days on Monday, Monday a little less so, but growing. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, bonkers. Okay. And that is all right. So that besides the location size, the business just has been condensed into 3 days. So, and that is not necessarily a bad thing. I like the concentrated environment of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday we are very lean, and the team actually enjoys it because it's an easy day. Friday, they can just catch up and clean up, and then they go into the weekend, and so that is the other big change from COVID. Otherwise, in terms of people eating or habits, not really. Not really, just more condensed.
So you're headed towards 20 years with Hannah's Bretzel.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of about kind of that journey?
To be there after 20 years. I mean, it's been look, it's a very competitive business. I think that to have had the opportunity to steer this brand and this company through all the challenges that were thrown at us over the years, I think is something to be proud of. To be still standing over COVID is something to be proud of. We had first the financial crisis back in 2007-8. The gluten-free trend came in 11, 12, 13. We got through that. Then came the online ordering trend, which really turned the whole industry upside down. But before online ordering, I knew that if I open a location in downtown Chicago, I will most probably own the 3-block radius around me for high-end sandwiches. That customer comes to me when they want a sandwich. So it was very predictable. When online ordering happened, any business that made food in Chicago became your competitor. Even 20 miles away, people didn't care. They get it delivered. The DoorDashes of the world then promised like free low delivery fees, and suddenly you had a whole range of competitors. It's settled by now, and it's but in the beginning it was a challenge. And then, of course, when COVID happened, all bets were off. So it was like always over the 20 years that we're going at next year, it was always macroeconomic trends from the outside that threw a real big challenge at us. It has never been anything that happened on the inside. We never had a food issue or E. coli or the salmonella or anything like that. So I'm at this point, after looking back and looking at what my team and my brand has gone through, I think we can say, bring it on. I don't see what else can happen that we wouldn't be able to survive. But I got to say here one word about the team. I am lucky to have my head of operations just had his 16th anniversary. We call them anniversaries. And my GM over at our Franklin location, he's been with us for 17 years. The GM over at the Randolph location has been with us for 11, 12 years. We have hourly team members who've worked with us for more than 10 years. We really focus on soft skills and on creating an environment that is supportive and understanding. And maybe that's my European roots. I don't know what it is. We offer unlimited vacation. We don't do vacation days. We don't do that. We appeal to the grown-up in everybody. I force everybody to take 2 weeks vacation in a row, once a year.
Nice.
Yeah, it's important. I think we tend to forget that this is a temporary deal on this planet for us. And as much as working hard is a thing, I think it is important also to step away and not work and see the planet and do something that you enjoy, and then come back. And I think it increased our productivity, but it also increased the team loyalty, because they think it's a really good deal and it's fair. And when they're here, they work hard. And so I think that is really just mutually beneficial. And the team is very proud of it, and I'm very proud of it. And we created a really tight little family running this business.
Do you think that kind of that team-centered culture where people enjoy working there, do you think that translates to the customer?
1 gazillion%. I can't emphasize that enough. Look, I'm gone a lot. I'm not in the operation, and I'm lucky because I trust my team. The team trusts me. I'm a man of my word. I say what I do, and I mean what I say. And they know that. They know they can rely on me. I created a very reliable work environment, and they appreciate that. And I think that kind of, engaging, a fun environment with great customer feedback coming to us that they can be proud of, and us celebrating milestones. So we celebrate a lot. I take my team out probably 4, 5, 6 times a year. And when I say I take them out, it's not fast food out. We go to like sit-down restaurants of chefs that we work with, and we have a real meal and a real splurge, and it's fun. And they, so it's mutual appreciation. I really believe that the team takes care of the customer and the customer takes care of the business. And me, I need to keep the bird's eye view to keep that process going. And that's my role. And I need to equip the team with the technology or the knowledge or the tools to succeed in making the customer really happy so that we repeat business. And I think you don't stay in business for 20 years unless you do something right. And I think we got probably 90% right, and the 10% we need to work on.
So I have one more question for you, but first,
Yeah.
I know you have 3 locations in
Yeah.
the Chicago area. Tell me how people can find out more about Hanna's Bretzel.
Well, obviously, go to the website hannasbretzel.com. We also have an Instagram handle, Hanna's Bretzel. You can find us on there too. We have 3 locations. We used to have 7. In 2020, actually, the plan was to expand into Washington, D.C. And the goal after that was shortly thereafter to head to Denver. That, of course, was all nixed by that virus. Amazing what a little virus can do, huh? And so, think about it. Teeny, bitsy, weeny. And so, we had to close a lot of locations because there was no other choice. So we're down to 3. We're closing a location over at 400 North LaSalle in October. That is our last really large legacy location of 3,500 square feet. We just don't need that size anymore. We don't need to pay the rent. We don't need to have the operating expenses. We can do with 1/3 the size. And we're relocating that location into the Merchandise Mart. I don't know if you're familiar with the Merchandise Mart, but it's a rather large building. We will operate in there a location that is 1/3 the size of our 400 North LaSalle location, at a fraction of the rent that we pay at LaSalle Street. And that is really the way to go. So that's just a block away. So we're going to work very hard in the next 4 weeks on convincing all of our customers at LaSalle Street in the future to go 1 block over to meet us there. But then we're back at 3. Now, once the Mart is opened, we will study opportunities to possibly add back locations in 25 and 26. My goal would be to be back at about 7 to 8 locations by 2026. But that has to be handled very, very carefully in the market that we're in. The downtown market, is still under pressure. Retail vacancies are high. Office occupancy is stuck in the mid-50s on average, 60, 65% on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Some cities reach 70% on those 3 days. But we're nowhere near 80, 90%. That might change in the future. Who knows, right? I think it will probably be city to city and company to company. So then the option is to go ex-urban or go suburban, and I think for me those things are not obvious. So we will look carefully to make an investment that makes sense. And that means small and ideally former restaurants with a built-out infrastructure where we just need to do cosmetics to open up, to keep the investment rather low. It's back to 2005. A small space, go in, make it look good, open, and hopefully it works, and you will make numbers. And number one criteria for making numbers is that the rent is that the rent gives confidence. So I'm saying that because I, in the past, signed leases where the rent was 17, 18 grand. That requires a solid performance. I wouldn't do that today. There's no way. So it needs to be low rent, probably with a percentage component, so that you can go into with confidence into a location that you can make numbers work and be there for the long term, become part of the community.
Sounds good. Sounds very good.
Yeah.
Hey, my last question for you: when you need to grab lunch on the go and you go to Hannah's Bretzel, do you have like a go-to combination of items or item of choice?
Yeah, I mean, I love our soups. Surprisingly, I say that right now we have Oktoberfest-inspired kale white bean soup with Niemann Ranch bratwurst, and the Niemann Ranch is an amazing product. And then I'm a huge fan of the sandwiches. I love the prezzol, which I think it's a northern Italian cured beef. It's an amazing flavor. It's one of the best sandwiches. The Marisol, which was created by Jason Hamill from Lulu Cafe for us. We do chef series sandwiches where we collaborate with chefs. They create a sandwich. We sell the sandwich. We donate 10% of revenue, not profits, revenue, to a community organization of the chef's choice. Pilot Light was for Chef Jason Hamill. We just did one with Paul Kahn. We donated 25% of revenue from that sandwich. Jason Hamill's sandwich was the Marisol, outstanding. It made our permanent menu. And the salmon sandwich. I think the salmon is really phenomenal. All our sandwiches are really, I think, interesting in the flavor, and that is really what we focus on. Clean ingredients, flavor. Surprisingly low in calorie count, surprisingly low in sodium count. All the nutritionals are on the website. It's all very transparent. And obviously, if anybody ever has a question, they can email us at catering@hannasbretzel.com, and we're always there for that. We do a lot of catering business. Well, I have the opportunity to mention that. Mm-hmm. We've been a downtown caterer for all Chicago companies across the board for a long time, and it's been probably 40% of our business by now. And we're very proud of that. So those are my things to go to. And if I have a sweet tooth, obviously the chocolate brownie we make, it's a triple chocolate brownie with organic chocolate. It's all organic. We make it in-house. There's no crap in it. And I love that one. Oh, may I mention the chocolate chip cookie while I'm at it? Okay.
Of course. Okay, well, sounds fantastic. It's not, I'm ready for lunch. It's only 8:40 a.m. here.
Go for it.
Hey, Florian, it was great to talk to you today. Thank you so much for joining me, and really appreciate all of your time, your insights, and
well, thank you for giving me the opportunity. It's been a real pleasure, and if there's anybody has a follow-up question, they can reach us, catering@hannasbretzel.com.
Okay, awesome. Thanks so much, Florian.
Thank
so long,
you.
everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Top Business Leaders Show, powered by Rise 25. Visit rise25.com to check out more episodes of the show and to learn more about how you can start your own podcast.